Good morning, children. In the last session, we were discussing about the precautions to be taken while using clinical thermometer and laboratory thermometer. Now, moving on to the next part, we will see the topic transfer of heat. Transfer of heat. This phenomenon is taking place in our daily life activities continuously. In most of the activities we see that is related to temperature, we see the heat is transferred from one place to another place. For example, during this season, we find the temperature of surrounding increases. And in this process, the heat transferred from sun to earth. The sun is very hot object. From there, the heat traveled and reached the earth's surface. That is a process. And then, if we take another example, taking a container which is filled with water. When it is heated from the bottom by placing it on the burner, we find after some time the water become hot and start to boil. Here we are supplying heat from the bottom. Due to this, the whole part of water gets heated. This process also taken place by transfer of heat. And then if we in your kitchen, that heating process is taking place while cooking any vegetable or anything, any eating item, when they are cooked, heating process is taking place. In that, when we take a container in which a vegetable is cooked, when the container is touched, we feel hot. And that is also taking place by the process of transfer of heat. So transfer of heat means that the heat flows from one place to another. The heat always flow from hot to cold. Suppose this is the hot place or hot object. And if we take this is the cold object. If these two hot and cold objects are kept separately, there will be no flow. Whenever they kept in contact by any means, in that definitely the energy, because as you know, the hot object has greater energy, cold object has smaller energy. The energy flow from hot to cold till they become equal. The hot object and the cold object, when they are made contact, the energy flow from hot to cold till they become equal. In this case, we say the heat is transferred from hot to cold. So the general thing is heat always flow from hot to cold. And this process is known as transfer of heat. Here, to transfer the heat, there are three methods. We call them, they are the modes of transfer of heat. Modes of transfer of heat. there are three modes of transfer of heat: conduction, convection, and radiation. These are the three modes of transfer of heat. In all the process, in all the modes of transfer of heat definitely transferred from hot to cold. But the process, the process mechanism is different. The general thing is heat transferred from hot to cold, but the way of transferring is different in all the three modes: in conduction, convection, and radiation. These all the process are taking place in our daily life continuously. Conduction we are seeing. This can be shown by a simple example. Suppose here we take a candle or flame burner, anything. Suppose it is the candle. The candle is lighted, so definitely the heat is produced from the flame. If we touch the flame, we feel hot. In this, if we put a rod, any rod, the rod has two ends, end A, end B. So here, this end A is above the hot flame. So this end will be hot. The other end is cold. In this case, if we place this rod, place the end of this end A of this rod over this flame continuously for some time, after that time we find the hotness in the end B also. This is taken place. We can say the heat is transferred from this end to this end. For that, the heat is transferred through the material. In this, the heat is transferred through this material. Whatever the material taken, through that material, the heat is transferred. And in this transfer of heat, the material has more particles, large number of particles. How that particles transfer the heat? The heat is transferred through the particle. How it is transferred? After getting the heat from this portion, these particles start to move to and fro. Due to this to and fro motion, the heat is transferred to this part, and that particles again come into and fro motion. In that case, it is transferred again. Continuously, this to and fro motion takes place, and the energy is transferred from one place to another place. During this process, the particles at some portion remain at the same place. For a moment, they move and come back to the same position. So, during this process, the heat is transferred without actual movement of particle through the material. And that process is known as conduction. So conduction is the process in which heat is transferred from hot to cold through the material without actual movement of particle. Without actual movement of particle. Here the particle do not move from the place. Suppose here we take a particle. That particle will not transfer, will not go to the other end. It remains at the same place, just they move to and fro. So movement of particles is known as conduction. So the conduction, again I am repeating, The process in which heat is transferred from hot to cold through a material without actual movement of particles is known as conduction. This conduction, for this conduction, the materials come in contact with each other. Here, all the particles are in contact with each other. So this is about the conduction, and then the next session we will see the examples.